Imagine a world where Christianity was still a young, persecuted, and forbidden religion. A time when Christians were thrown to the beasts in arenas, condemned for their faith, and forced to hide in catacombs to hold their worship services. Now, think of a man who lived through this historical transition, from a clandestine faith to a religion protected by the most powerful empire of the time. That man is Pope Sylvester I, a pope whose name is immortalized not only in the history of the Church but also in one of the most famous street races in the world. But who was Pope Sylvester? What role did he play in the rise of Christianity? Follow this fascinating story and discover how this 4th-century pope became a legendary figure. Here are 10 curiosities about Pope Sylvester. 10. He was pope in the 4th century. Pope Sylvester assumed the papacy on January 31, 314, during a period of great change in the Roman Empire. His election came just months after the publication of the Edict of Milan, a document that, for the first time in history, granted Christians the freedom to openly practice their faith. His papacy lasted 21 years, until his death on December 31, 335, making him one of the longest reigning popes in the history of the Church. During this time, he witnessed the transformation of Christianity from a persecuted religion to a faith that began to institutionalize and expand its power. He governed during the reign of Emperor Constantine, the first Roman emperor to convert to Christianity. With this new imperial protection, the Church was able to flourish, and Sylvester played a crucial role in this process, helping to consolidate the structure of the Christian faith. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do so now to not miss any curiosities about the saints. 9. The connection with the Edict of Milan. The Edict of Milan, enacted in 313 AD by Constantine and Licinius, officially ended the persecutions of Christians in the Roman Empire. It established that all religions had the right to freedom of worship, including Christianity, which had previously been severely persecuted. Although Pope Sylvester was not directly responsible for this decree, he was the first pope to govern in a world where Christians no longer had to hide. He took advantage of this new reality to expand the Church's presence, encourage the building of temples, and strengthen papal authority. The Edict of Milan was a crucial milestone for the history of the Christian faith, as it allowed the Church to leave its clandestine existence and become an institution with political and social influence within the Roman Empire. 8. The Pope of the Great Basilicas. With the support of Emperor Constantine, Pope Sylvester played an essential role in the construction of some of the most iconic churches in Christianity. During his papacy, monumental basilicas were built, which became symbols of the Christian faith and still stand today. Basilica of St. John Lateran. It was the first Christian basilica built in Rome, considered the mother of all churches and the official seat of the Pope. The temple symbolized the beginning of an era of religious freedom and the acceptance of Christianity as a legitimate religion within the empire. Old St. Peter's Basilica. Built on the site believed to be the burial place of the Apostle Peter, the basilica became one of the most sacred centers of Christendom. Later, it was rebuilt to make way for the current St. Peter's Basilica in Vatican City. The construction of these churches marked the beginning of the Church's architectural grandeur, consolidating Christianity as a religion that moved from the catacombs to occupy the heart of the Roman Empire. Leave your prayer request in the comments so that Saint Sylvester can intercede for it before God. 7. The Legend of Constantine and the Miracle of Pope Sylvester. One of the most famous stories associated with Pope Sylvester is the legend that he cured Emperor Constantine of a terrible skin disease, allegedly leprosy. The story goes that Constantine, in search of a cure, consulted pagan priests, but without success. Desperate, he heard about a Christian leader named Sylvester who could help him. The Pope advised him to convert to Christianity and be baptized. Upon receiving baptism, Constantine was miraculously healed of the disease, which led him to recognize the power of the Christian God. As a sign of gratitude, the emperor is said to have granted land and privileges to the Church, further strengthening its position within the empire. Although there is no concrete historical evidence to support this story, it was widely spread during the Middle Ages, helping to reinforce the image of Pope Sylvester as a miraculous pope. 6. He did not participate in the Council of Nicaea. The Council of Nicaea, held in 325 AD, was one of the most important events in the history of Christianity. It gathered bishops from various parts of the empire to define Christian doctrine and combat heresies, such as Arianism, which questioned the divinity of Christ. Although he was the leader of the Church at the time, Pope Sylvester was not present at the council. Instead, he sent two representatives, priests Vito and Vincent. The Pope's absence raises questions to this day, and it is believed that he may have chosen not to attend due to political reasons or health issues. Even though he was not physically present, his doctrinal position had a significant influence on the decisions made at the council, which helped shape Christian theology. 5. Patron saint of domestic animals. Although he is best known for his contribution to the Church, Pope Sylvester is also remembered in some traditions as the protector of domestic animals. This association is not very clear, but it may be related to his kind character and the fact that, at the time, Christians often cared for animals as a symbol of compassion and respect for God's creation. In some regions of Europe, there is a tradition of blessing animals on December 31st in his honor. For the death and legacy of Pope Sylvester. Pope Sylvester passed away on December 31st, 335, and this date became his liturgical feast day. Interestingly, because it is the last day of the year, his celebration became associated with the passage of time and reflections on the future. The tradition of celebrating Saint Sylvester's Night on New Year's Eve is common in various countries in Europe. In Brazil, his name became immortalized through the famous São Silvestre Race, held annually in São Paulo. 3. Celebrated in various countries. Devotion to Pope Sylvester is not limited to the Catholic Church. His liturgical feast, celebrated on December 31st, has become a recognized date in several countries, especially in Europe. In Christian tradition countries, his memory is marked by masses and celebrations that give thanks for the past year and ask for blessings for the year ahead. In Italy, for example, Saint Sylvester's Night, Notte di San Silvestro, is one of the most important end-of-year celebrations, with large family dinners and public events. Another country that maintains this tradition is Germany, where New Year's Eve is called Silvester. Many German cities hold grand fireworks displays in his honor, a custom that has spread worldwide. In Brazil, the name São Silvestre became immortalized through the traditional international São Silvestre Race, held annually on December 31st in São Paulo. Created in 1925, the race was inspired by similar European events and quickly became one of the most important street races in the world, gathering elite athletes and amateurs in a challenge that blends sport and celebration. Pope Sylvester is therefore not only remembered by the Church but also by millions of people who, every year, celebrate his feast as a mark of the end of one cycle and the beginning of another. 2. The meaning of the name Sylvester. The name Sylvester comes from the Latin Silvestris, which means from the forest, wild, or one who lives among the trees. This name might seem unusual for a pope, but it was relatively common at the time, especially among those who led a monastic or solitary life. There are two possible reasons this name was associated with him. 1. The historical context. In the 4th century, many persecuted Christians sought refuge in isolated places, such as forests and mountains. The early Christian monks would often retreat from the cities to live in communion with God in nature. The name Sylvester may have reflected this tradition. 2. A reference to his character. The name may symbolize the humility and simplicity of his life. Despite being a pope during a period of great change, Pope Sylvester was always described as a peaceful man who preferred diplomacy over direct confrontation. Interestingly, the name Sylvester remains popular in some European countries and has been used in both first names and surnames. One buried in the catacombs of Priscilla. After his death on December 31, 335, Pope Sylvester was buried in the catacombs of Priscilla, one of the oldest and most important underground cemeteries in Rome. The catacombs were used by early Christians as burial and refuge sites during Roman persecutions. Many martyrs and saints were buried there, and the site became a pilgrimage sanctuary over the centuries. However, Pope Sylvester's remains did not stay in the catacombs forever. Later, his bones were transferred to different churches, and today, it is believed that part of his relics is in the Church of San Silvestro in Capite in Rome. Still, the catacombs of Priscilla remain a sacred destination for pilgrims, and the memory of Pope Sylvester lives on among those who visit this historic site. Now I want to know, did you already know all this history about Saint Sylvester? Which of these curiosities surprised you the most? Leave your comment and share this video. If you enjoyed this content and want more fascinating stories like this, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. And until the next story.